Hey, and hello everyone. Welcome to the ComicBase Livestream. I'm your host, Pete Bickford. I'm going to be with you here for the next hour or so, or at least until the allergy meds wear off. Hope everyone's doing well today. All right, let's get this show on the road. Let me switch over to the cam, and here we are. Awesome. All right, we're trying out a new console over here, so hopefully everything's cool, from your end, and everyone can see me okay and hear me okay. Let's go ahead and get some foo out of the way here. By the way, in case anything comes up you need to reach me, I'll go ahead and put my contact info up there. That is me, Peter Bickford, pbickford at human-computing.com. This may be relevant at some point later in the show, but feel free to reach out to me if you ever need me for anything. All right, let's go ahead and get this going. So, hide that. All right, moving on. Okay, yeah, so today we're going to be talking about a little bit of comic-based news. I've got some barcode update, on the barcode scanners we've been sold out of for months. There's some interesting auction stories I want to share a little bit, and most importantly, I want to answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. So please post them in the chat, and if you would, preface them with @comicbase.tv or @comicbase.tv, and that way they pop out a little bit more and they're easier for me to spot as everything goes scrolling by. So anyway, let's do a little round the horn and see how we're doing on everything. Let me, again, get some windows out of my way so I can see what the heck I am doing. And let's go here, pull up the social. There we are. Oh, wow, there's a lot of scrolling. Okay. Anyway, yeah, hey, Fred, first up on the list. Nice to see you and everything. Mike, hail, Andre as well. Oro, welcome from Minneapolis, my old hometown back when I was, living out there in the 80s. Actually, I was down the road in Cottage Grove, but Minneapolis is where I would work on the weekends and where I bought all my comic books over at Schindler's. I don't think that's still around, but that was a great place to get comics back in the day. All right, Jeff Schultz, nice to see you, man. Xanadu, thanks for joining us. Derek Putnam, Gregor Heck, so watch out, guys. The mod is in the house, so thank you very much on that one. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Thomas S. Oh yeah, I think we are good. Oh, and by the way, yes, thank you, Oro, for reminding everyone. Please hit the like and subscribe. It does help, particularly in the early seconds of the show, to make it so the algorithm over at YouTube actually feels that there are people watching and bothers to send out the announcements to all the other subscribers to say that we're on the air. But anyway, thank you very much for that. And by the way, if this is the sort of thing that you like, please do hit the subscribe button. And we do, I've said this before, but I do plan on publishing more videos this year, particularly in the first half. This will let you know about all the other things we're doing in addition to the regularly done live streams. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. If you guys are keeping up with the interim builds here, I know there's a way I can get these things to show side by side. Let me see. Ugh, no, that clearly was not it. All right. Anyway, I'm juggling screens, but we're going to make this work one way or another. So anyway, if you're keeping up with the interim builds, we are currently build 22.0.1.1608. The 1608, you say, what does that one do that's new? Actually, a couple of pretty interesting things on the technical level. The main one is we spent a couple of days doing nothing but cranking installer revs and doing different things to try to get the ComicBase installer to better deal with different iterations of crystal reports that might be on people's machines. So it's something that's been kind of a headache for us ever since last couple 3 years. Crystal reports, as you guys might know, is the reporting engine that we use in ComicBase. It's probably the most popular reporting engine in the world, which means it's already installed on many people's machines with various versions, which unfortunately often conflict with each other. And that's really a headache for us, especially because Crystal Reports is now owned by a company called SAP, which apparently is on a 5-year release cycle for doing new versions. It's crazy how slow they're going about the whole thing, and they don't, let's just say, they don't make it easy to get along with other versions of their own software that are on the machine. So we're doing heroic measures to try to get everything to play nicely in the new ComicBase installer. If you've had any problems with Crystal Reports on your machine, please go ahead and download the new ComicBase build. You can do that under My Account, registrations at ComicBase.com. Download the current build, version 1608, and try installing that one and see if it doesn't make everything better for you in terms of using Crystal Reports. If for some reason you have any trouble with it, though, I will run you through a little procedure. I'd like to run you through. In fact, let's do that right now. So let's swap over to the other screen here, put myself up in a key, and that should, nope, wrong one. I was so close to having that work nicely, but no, it didn't quite work. All right, let me, what did it, oh yeah, well, we'll take that in a second here. But if you would, go to your Add and Remove Programs, and remove programs, which of course opens up on the wrong screen. Okay, let's bring it over to the right place. And what you'll want to do is go ahead and if you have any trouble, you know, afterwards or installing Crystal Reports or anything else like that, just do one thing. Go down to Add Remove Programs, go ahead and select ComicBase down here, and go ahead and uninstall whatever version of ComicBase you've got running. You can also uninstall the ComicBase resources if you want. But the main thing, matter of fact, I would go ahead, if you're going to install one, uninstall them both. But the main thing is also go down, scroll way down toward the bottom here, and look for a package called SAP Crystal Reports. This guy right down here. You'll probably have one here that looks something like this, SAP Crystal Reports Runtime for .NET. Go ahead and uninstall him. And then finally, go ahead and download the latest version of ComicBase from the website, ComicBase.com. Install that. It'll actually put everything back, but it'll do a nice clean install of all the above, and won't affect your data in any way, but it should help you out if you are having any kind of trouble with Crystal Reports. In the past, what we'd had to do is we'd had to point you to one of Crystal Reports' service packs, Service Pack 29. This one here will actually take you to an even later version of Crystal Reports, which should set everything right no matter what you've been running beforehand. And it does it all as part of the installer of ComicBase. You don't need to run the installer separately. Just installing ComicBase will put everything for all the different packages in place. And if you have any trouble with it all, please let us know. But we've had good luck so far, and it's made everything better for a lot of people who had trouble with Crystal Reports on their machine. So I hope that helps you, and we'll take it from there. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. Let me get my mouse back. Let's see here. Yes, Greg asks, is that Dodger that I hear in the background? Yeah, we have tried to get him on camera. He's always shy, and he just got hustled out of the house to go to the library. So I'm afraid once again he will not be making it. Ral asks, the update should automatically install, correct? This is a interim install right now, so unless you've got the interim updates checked, it won't do it automatically. It won't see it as a new install. But if you've gone under here in ComicBase's preferences, and if you've got checked to, let me go ahead and, there we are. If you have checked for interim updates checked on your machine, then if you check for updates, it'll see the brand new 1608. If not, because this isn't one of our quarterly updates yet, then it won't see this one. But you can always manually download it from the ComicBase.com website. But that's, but yeah, like I say, if you're having trouble with Crystal Reports, certainly go ahead and download that new build and let us know if it doesn't, we think it'll take care of everything for you. Like I say, we spent a lot of really boring days trying to work around their installer, but anyway, hopefully that takes care of everything. All right, so let me see where else we're doing here. Wow, a lot of stuff going on in the chat here. Let me see. Yes, now it's a YouTube channel. Now we've got CGI animated background. Yeah, we actually, I've been doing some stuff in the switcher. I'm trying to get some of the production values off the floor. you know, authenticity and bad production values are kind of our brand here. But honestly, I'm thinking maybe we could move beyond that in some small way and not lose, you know, the charm that keeps everyone keep coming back. But yeah, I would actually, as we go into, you know, later on the year, I would like to actually work out some bumpers and stingers for things like tech tips and things like that, so that they're easier both to look at and also to clip out later on to use as freestanding tips. So yeah, we're trying new stuff. And no, unfortunately, we have not hit the 2 million mark on comic books already. Nor am I think are we ever going to hit that, because I don't think there are 2 million comic books that have ever been printed. But anyway, let's see what else we got going on here. Fred asks, I appear to have both CB 2022 and CB 2021 resources. You don't need 2021 right yet. You can go ahead and uninstall ComicBase 2021 resources if you've got those installed. It'll save a couple hundred megs because it won't have the old 2021 stock database and some old graphics on your machine. It won't affect anything with your current ComicBase. All right, and Fred says, I don't currently have SAP Crystal Reports on the list. Is that a problem? Not at all. The old installer tried to install Crystal Reports as part of what's called a merge module. Basically, we were relying on Crystal Reports, their own installer technology, to do the installing for Crystal, you know, reports when used with ComicBase, and that's how we did it in the past. It was the official way to do it. The problem with the official way is it often ran into trouble with other installations of Crystal Reports. It wound up just being kind of crummy. And in addition, if other people had installed other service packs to Crystal Reports, they would always conflict with each other. Honestly, SAP, please clean up your installers. It's just, we are a third-party company. We shouldn't be spending this much time making your stuff work. But anyway, so what we've done now is we've essentially silently invoked installation of the latest Crystal Report service pack. We've taken it out of our the merge modules that came with ComicBase, and like I said, we're trying to play nicely with any installations of Crystal Reports you had for any reason, whether it was part of Office or other accounting packages or whatever else. But this seems to be the most compatible way to get that done. It just took a lot of work on our part to make that all play nicely. So let's hope that all works. All right, let's see. And Thomas says, I have 2 instances of Crystal Reports showing under apps, a 32 and a 64-bit. Do I need both? You don't. The 32-bit one is the one that ComicBase is currently using. 64-bit would have come in with some other package you did. I'd probably leave that one alone. Yeah, no, that should be just fine. But the 32-bit one, if you've got it, like I say, you can, if you want to do a clean uninstall of the 32-bit one, you know, probably, you know, a good thing. But yeah, ComicBase, the new installer, is going to install everything it needs by running the respective installers in sequence. You'll see that when it installs the prerequisites, that takes a little longer than usual. But you'll see those 3 packages will be installed at the end of the day, and everything, like, again, hopefully is all good at the end. All right, so that's hopefully enough about installers for now. So the other thing we slipped in with Build 1608 is if you are used to using the quick reports in ComicBase, we added in at a user request one pretty useful feature, we think, which is when you're doing a quick report on any issues you've got selected there, it will append the grading notes to the notes automatically. So if you've got if you want to get just a quick list of your issues along with any of the custom gradings, that'll all appear much the same way that if you're printing labels or things like that. We always append the grading notes to the end of the notes there. But that gets done automatically on quick reports as well. And so it's a worthwhile thing to have in there, so we threw it in. All right. Let me see where we're at. Okay. I think we're good on the rest of that. Okay. Other things that are of note in our world. Barcode news. So, and by the way, this would be a great time to have like a really cool stinger for like barcode news, you know, and do something cool and animated. Someday I will be this cool. I'm not this cool today. But anyway, we have finally, after a lot of testing and a lot of back and forth with different suppliers, have put in a wire transfer for our initial order of resupplies on 2 brand new barcode scanners. One is going to be both a handheld and a auto-scanning one, like our old DX barcode scanner that we had from before. So it can be used either in a stand, or you can wave a where you can wave a comic book under it, or you can pick it up and just beep the comic books one after another as you go. And another one, the one I've got on my desk right now, is actually a wireless model. Very slick. So it, there's no cords to get tangled up on everything like there were before. And one thing that's kind of interesting about it is it also has the ability to work in what's called an inventory mode. So we're kind of, I'd like to actually pose the question to all of y'all out there, where is there a use case out there? Is there something that you guys would want to do where you took the barcode scanner and literally just went someplace within Bluetooth range, so 30 feet away from wherever your comic base was, give or take. Actually, no, yeah, about that, from wherever your computer is. Scanned a box of comic books, and then went to your computer and then say, yeah, upload all the ones I've just scanned, and do them all in one big blitz when you weren't looking at your screen the first time. We've got the capability to do this one, but the reason, even though it's kind of tempting for me to say, yeah, that sounds great, because I'd love to, I don't keep my comic books in my office, I keep them elsewhere. It's tempting for me to say, yeah, that'd be super, useful. Just go through the box and go beep, beep, beep as I go, walk back to my computer and say, yeah, here's everything I just scanned. I'm not sure if I buy the use of, because I don't know about you guys, unlike, inventory mode is typically done at like a supermarket, right, where everything is new. You don't need to worry about the condition. Whereas with comic books, condition is always a factor. So, if this was a brand new comic store and you were cycle counting your store's inventory, I definitely buy the use case. Does it really apply to us if we're talking about our own collections, though? Because if I just beep everything in and I don't note what condition everything's in at the time, I'm going to be putting in everything as if it was all near mint, and isn't that going to jam me up worse than if I was looking at the books as I went and said, oh yeah, this one's only in good, let me make sure to knock the quantity back, knock the condition back on that one, oh, this one's only in VG, and so forth. Is that more useful to make you actually look at the books as you're scanning? So I don't know. Weigh in the chat, please. I'd like to get your opinion on it, because with the new scanner, we've at least got the technical capability of letting you work completely offline. And maybe there's something we can do, to handle things like, different grades. Maybe we can, I don't know, come with a quick card or something there that we, you could hold in your hand where it beeps in, and I just scanned a book and this one's in VG, or scanned a book and this one's in good, and hit the conditions as you go. Maybe there's some kind of methodology that makes some kind of sense. But I guess I want to believe that however you'd be using it, that it would solve more problems for y'all than it causes. And so, if you've got any thoughts on that one, please share them with you, either in the chat, or if you have longer opinions on it, please write me at pbickford@human-computing.com, and I'd love to hear it. All right, so let me see here. Fred says, it might be more efficient if you could tag all the added ones so we could find all the recent added and work in a batch on the PC. Tag all the added ones. Nah. So, one, I'm not sure if this is exactly on point, but I'll go ahead and switch over and we'll see if we can do it. Let me see if is the other key working? No, it's still showing picture-in-picture. Why are you showing the media player one? You ought to be showing the camera. Oh, I know why. Hold on a second. I'm gonna get my keys set up on this one correctly at some point. Yeah, I just swapped it beforehand. So I want the key one to be, input is, key one, it should be camera one. Hey, there we are. Guys, believe it or not, I'm actually making progress on figuring out this board. About freaking time. Anyway, so let's go ahead and, so going back to Fred's question, so one thing is that you can do here is if you say add comics by inventory, add comics by barcode. Whoops, sorry, hitting way too many keys on my keyboard at once. And let me go ahead and just scan a couple of things. Let's grab them off the rack behind me here. So, all right, so I got my Frontline Combat, my Hana Fear, and my my Miracle Man second series book 3, which apparently we need to scan a picture for. So that's good to know. Anyway, if you've been scanning a bunch of stuff, one thing that I would always suggest people do if they want to tailoring of what you do afterwards is look down at the bottom here and make sure you've checked off display items after saving, which if you do that, then as soon as you save it, it's going to pull up the list of everything you just added in a list. So it's going to go ahead and add them to my inventory here. Okay, and then immediately it's going to show me what I just added. At which point, if I want to, I could go ahead and, go back and change conditions on them. I could, print labels. I could do whatever I want there. I guess my question about that one is if I'm going ahead and, if what I'm doing is, sorry, I gotta get my key on the main screen. There we are. If I'm going ahead and I've been scanning a big box of comic books, am I actually going to remember that the Spider-Man 138 that I just scanned was in VF? Or because if they all come in at near min, am I setting up for failure by letting you scan 100 items at once and blast them all in? Unless there was some way as you're scanning to also note what condition they were meant to come in. So yeah, I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, so let me see here. Other things that have been scrolling by. Let me go back to the main chat here. Ronald says, you're saying if we place a set in a box scan, then a separate code for the box so that it groups it. Wasn't really what I was thinking of. What I was thinking of is this, like I say, it's possible now with the new scanner to do your scanning in a completely different place than when you're looking at the data, as you're going in. So that, as you go ahead and you're scanning in books, that you could go in here and instead of like typically I'd be scanning a book, looking at the results of the book, making any changes, do the next one, lather, rinse, and repeat, right? But what if what I really want to do is I want to go someplace else, scan 100 books, then come up here, add by barcode, and blast them all in at once and get that list. So they don't associate themselves as a set. They're still individual items unless I make them into a sale set somehow for Atomic Avenue. I'm just worried that I don't want to mess you up in terms of particularly the condition. I don't want to mess you up by letting you do all that work without seeing the book and then having to go and retract the grade later on, because again, I don't know about your memory, unless you're doing way better than me. It's like I'm not going to remember that 5 of those books were in various weird conditions at the time. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. All right, let me go back and let's read some more chats here, see where we stand. Greg's proposing a drink roll call. Everyone, you go for that one. All right, so let's see here. And yes, everyone's doing drink calls. Fred suggests sort the pile by grade, scan all and grade, load, find, quick change grade, faster than scanning individually and setting the grade individually. Could be. Yeah, like I say, I guess I just, before I enable any kind of like inventory dump mode for the new scanner, I guess like I say, I just want to know that we're not causing new trouble. All right. And Fred says, now I see how the scanner is working is different than the CV mold scanner. I want to scan it. We always said that. All right. Let's see here. Price on new scanners, we'll talk about that once we have them in hand. They do some cool new things, and we got to figure out what our landed cost on them is going to be. Honestly, we only know the final cost on them once we're done paying the import dues. And it seems like the duties we get charged are a random number concocted by the State Department or whatever group is sending it to us. Between that and the shipping, it's fine. Between the duties and the shipping, it's almost like the same price as the actual thing you're buying. But if we can figure that out, then we'll set the price and we'll take it from there. All right. Let's see here. And Fred points out, if you're running a store and the scanner's at the POS terminal, maybe it's not the most natural place for processing new items. Yeah, no, I agree. For new items especially, you know, if you know everything's going to be near mint, or if it isn't near mint, it goes into the damages pile, then I absolutely see the application for that. Yeah, okay. Let's see. It's awesome to do some of my collection is not in my office, but you're right. Unless we have it in hand, it's hard to remember the condition. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if there isn't some way that we can make it so that, like I say, if there's like a handheld card, you know, or something that we, you know, that you know, it's easy to keep with you, where you could like not just scan the book, but also note somehow the condition as you go, you know, with the scanner, you know, hand scanning that in. I don't know. It's I'm also trying to, you know, I'm imagining the scenario, but I'm in all my imaginations of it all. It only seems like the people involved have one more hand than, you know, humans typically have. So I'm not sure how that would work. All right. So all right. Let's see here. All right. I think that's all I had to say about that for now. Let's go ahead and roll that one up. Anyway, so we're expecting the new scanners in about 3 weeks, and we'll have all the details when we do. In the meantime, if anyone desperately needs a scanner, we do have 2 refurbs, one each of our old scanners, which we can let go. The handheld scanner, the regular laser scanner, we've got a refurb, which first person gives us $50 on PayPal to sales@comicbase.com. We'll send that out to you. And we also have one of the DX ones with the stand. That one's the one that used to be on my desk, and that one's $75 for the first guy who sends us the money at PayPal. So let us know, and any questions, go ahead and send info to email to me at pbickford@human-computing.com, and we'll let those go. All right, so I think that will do it for now. All right. We got that, and I mentioned the refurbs. Moving on. All right, let's go down here and see if I can't get my switcher to show us the... Where are we at here? I used to know where this was. Come on, baby. Where are you at? All right, let's have a look here, and can I get this to show up on the media player? Well, if I pop it on the screen, there we are. All right, so this is kind of interesting. Can anyone name this comic? Well, if you guys haven't gotten it already, this thing just sold at auction for a coverless copy for $11,400. And yes, this is Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man. Not so long ago, you could have bought like a good copy of Amazing Fantasy number 15, you know, with the cover and all the other stuff for the same $11,000. You know, most comic stores would have had that. No, the Amazing Fantasies obviously have gone through the frickin' roof. I want to say one of them just moved, you know, north of the $1 million mark. But I mean, this is a Silver Age comic book. I think it's 1962. You know, this is not, and it was printed in you know, well, reasonable numbers, you know, compared to, you know, most Golden Age things, at least as far as, you know, the surviving numbers. You know, this was not a super hard to find comic book once upon a time, but man, as this thing hit the top of the run. Now, go ahead and turn off that key now. Go ahead and boom. Hey, we're learning. Okay. But yes, a coverless copy, $11,400 at the last Heritage auction. I can't even process that. It's not even in pour. It's a coverless copy. It's not a complete comic book. I guess it makes more sense to me than the idea of buying a single page out of Action One for however many, you know, hundreds of bucks that thing went for. I mean, there is no slowing down on the price increases that we're seeing on the, you know, on key books. If you are holding on to any kind of, you know, collection of key golds or silvers, you are doing very, very well right now, and you know, I wish you well in the multi-million-dollar mansion you're probably moving into when you sell them. As for the rest of us, one of the more interesting auction results of late is that 50s and 60s, really lower tier comic books, the kind that you'd see featured in, say, 4-color comic books, are continuing to set auction records, regularly moving for 2 and 3 times their previously listed prices in ComicBase. So that's causing ripples all up and down the all up and down the marketplace, you know, the way that those are rolling. So yeah, it's, you know, the market is not slowing down whatsoever. Inflation is obviously, you know, going nuts on the whole thing, but even though it's taking a big chunk out of our wallet every time we go to fill up our car these days, clearly people have got the money to spend when it comes to buying old comic books. So yeah, keep that in mind as you're, you know, doing your investing and or your pricing. So, you know, it's an interesting thing. Alrighty, let's see what else we're doing here. Okay, Ed asks, any plans on, whoop, did I lose, oh, there we go, let's get that one back up here. Any plans on update regarding making it possible to change the font size and or type font of the Crystal Reports? The Crystal Reports font size is hard. The main part on that one is that the actual layout areas of a Crystal Reports are, of any pre-done report, they're all fixed on the page. So we're fighting the physicality of an 8.5 by 11 page, you know, piece of paper. And as soon as we change out of the fairly tight formatting that almost all the reports are using, as soon as you change out of that one, it would start clipping and running off into different, you know, areas would run into each other. It's easier to make them smaller to squish more stuff on there, but I think what most people, you know, who've been requesting font changes on reports have been asking us for, most of the time they've been asking us to make things larger because we're all getting older and our eyes are going to hell. Now, changing the actual font itself, a little less problematic, you know, as long as things stay pretty close to where we're at right now. I believe our base report font is Arial. But yeah, I definitely have seen people, particularly with things like the simpler things like labels. There have been some people who've want to, you know, say, can we make that bigger, smaller, etc. And on the simpler reports, like title divider labels or price labels and things like that, we do have some ability to at least potentially move that around. But there's nothing in Crystal Reports, unfortunately, which auto sizes things to fit the font. That all has to be done manually. So that's hard to do. Now, in the program itself, on the other hand, if you wanted to make ComicBase's own display fonts and things like that, you know, make those customizable, that's something that we've definitely considered. I'm trying to get a gauge as to how deep the interest of that is. If a lot of people want it and it's something that we feel like we could do, then, you know, it really just becomes a question of, do we carve out the time to make that happen? So, you know, let us know. Definitely write us either here or in the forums, certainly, and, you know, like I say, run up the flagpole and see if we get anyone interested. All right, let me see what we're doing here. Thomas asked about the coverless comic base. He's like, maybe the guy who had it before only had a cover. That would actually make a certain amount of sense if that was a thing, you know, because could you take the interior from a wrecked copy of Amazing Fantasy from one thing, put together, you know, with the cover from a much nicer copy, you know, bind the two together somehow, and, you know, give yourself a multi-million-dollar comic book. Theoretically possible, I guess. It would be, you know, considered certainly restored, and if you're honest about it, you'd certainly have to note the alteration, but yeah, who knows. All right, let's see here. Comic Sans. Oh man, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. Yeah, Greg points out our eyesight wouldn't be so bad if we didn't read all those Youngblood comics when we were younger. I don't know that the font size in Youngblood did us in. You know, main thing I remember from Youngblood, other than the really curious anatomy, where, you know, a typical Liefeld hero, that the tricep, you know, would basically have the same dimension as the head. That kind of stylistic Liefeld style thing is like that was the most remarkable thing for me. But that, and like the fact that basically everything was a full page splash, and so there's only about 20 words in the whole book. So I don't know. All right. Let's see here. Fred says, I'm surely going to do a grand merge of new boxes in the main collection. Plan to make box labels featuring cover scans and info about the first and last issue in each box. Interesting. Let's think on that. All right. All right. Let's push on. And great points. So yes, yeah. We're not talking about the font size, obviously. Okay. All right. Moving on. Okay, other things that are happening in the world. Movie-wise, there is the Batman out now. For everyone, I've not seen it myself yet. COVID did a pretty good job of breaking me of the going to theater habit, which I hope to unbreak myself of in the near future. But yeah, the reviews are generally good. But what everyone says is, man, this thing is long. So if you're gonna watch it, make sure you pee first, because you're not gonna want to get up in the middle. And this thing clocks in at nearly 3 hours. So. Just a couple minutes under. So that's about the one strike I'd say I'm hearing against it. Like most movies, I do think I'd say this is about the Marvel Spider-Man No Way Home as well, is you could trim at least one villain out of most superhero movies and no one would notice. And it'd probably help your running time by half an hour. And honestly, folks, when you're making movies, consider it. It would be a useful thing for all of us fans, because we know that you're giving us a lot of value for our money by packing in so very many heroes and villains and everything. But whenever you do that, you've got to spend all the time telling us the origin stories and explaining the relations between everyone and letting everyone have their little time on screen. You know what? Just 90 minutes and out, man. That ought to be the goal for pretty much every movie. 2 hours at the max, but yeah, the 3 hour mega episodes, unless you're doing Lord of the Rings, man, I'm not sure if I want to see it. But that would be my main thing. The other one that's of interest, though, movie wise out there in the world, is if you guys like old-fashioned Disney movies, like the stuff they were doing in the 60s, really, in terms of their live action stuff. There's a movie coming out from an interesting source, The Daily Wire. It's a kind of a podcasting company, but they've been moving into media lately. They mostly made some waves by snapping up Gina Carano after she got cashiered by Disney for making comments that honestly Disney lied their ass off about. But when they canceled her, Daily Wire came along and said, hey, we're happy to have you work for us, and they gave her a production gig, snapped her up for some work in a couple of her own movies as well, and has honestly been doing some pretty interesting stuff. It's a conservative podcasting outlet, and they're moving into media, which is a field that honestly has band liberal dominated for a very long time, and it's interesting to see other voices at work with the whole thing. But they're putting out a like I say, old-fashioned kind of Disney throwback superhero live action thing. They're doing it as a live-only event on YouTube tomorrow. Check YouTube for the showtimes on that one. It might vary by your area, but they're gonna broadcast it once for free, and after that, if you want to watch it, they're gonna use it as like a membership thing and try to get you to subscribe to their to their channel. Yeah, it looked pretty enjoyable, so I'll probably be checking that out myself. All right, let's see what else is going on. Fred points out Batman, not bad, even more grounded in reality than the Nolan version, which, wow, not too bad at all. Yeah, I've heard one of the cool things about it is that you actually see the Dark Knight actually doing detective work, which, and also you've got kind of a serial killer version of the main villain, which I guess I'm probably not giving away too much to say it, but instead of it being very comic booky in that case, it's almost more of a Silence of the Lambs vibe is what I've heard. But yeah, no, it looks interesting. I look forward to seeing it at some point. All right. Could you trim one villain from the Joker movie? No, that would be it. But I also don't think the Joker movie was all that long, all things considered. Wasn't it just a little over 2 hours? No, they did good on that one. No, but I mean, like Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, did you need to have Goblin and Sandman and and Electro, and it's just come on, guys, enough's enough. Just trim just one villain out and then shorten the whole thing up. It'll all be better. All right. All right, and let's see here. Okay. Let me see here. The other big news. I'm going on vacation. Honestly, I am feeling awfully fried. I've just been working like a dog, and I need to get out and see the beach. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm taking much of next week off. So guys, please try not to wreck the place while I'm gone. But the rest of the staff will still be on call, obviously. But I'm going to go out there, squish my toes in the sand, and get the heck away from here for a while. So there will probably be no podcast next week. So hopefully this one will tide you over, and anything else, like I say, feel free to reach out to support or pick up the phone and call us, we'll be glad to help you. But just I will have to reach you with anything personal when I return. So anyway, see you in a week on that. All right. Last thing I've got is I have 2 questions that people. I have one request for people, and I have 2 questions that I want to answer for folks. And then if no one else has anything else, I'm just gonna get the heck out of here. All right. So the request I have for everyone is I'm going to be down in Destin, Florida, and probably making some ventures into Mobile, Pensacola, and places around there. If you guys know of any really good book or comic stores in the North Florida area, or especially Pensacola or Mobile, Alabama, could you shoot me some recommendations? Because I always like checking out folks when I go into the area, and it's always a joy to see someone doing a great job with the comic store. So yeah, shoot me a note, and I'd love to see that. All right, so that was my request, and then the tip questions I got that people sent in ahead of time. Let's take these really quickly, and then if there's nothing else in the chat, let's do this. Greg asks, am I going to Florida to pick up some spring breakers? No, not this time. I'm actually bringing the family. So if I was 20, it'd be different, but because I am going to be coming past Panama City Beach, it would be a great time to do that. But no, the spring breaker, I'm bringing one with me. It'll be my own daughter, and hopefully she won't do anything fun at all. So anyway, and Greg wants to remind everyone that we do have a dedicated message board to suggest topics as well. All right. Ron asked a question. Do you guys have how do you feel about the plastic BCW long storage boxes? Inquiring minds want to know. Chat, please respond. I have not used them. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. All right. So moving on. Let's talk about a couple of tip type things, and we'll take it from there. So first question that came up, first of all, let's talk a little bit more about the quick reports, which we mentioned earlier. All right, so whenever you are looking at anything at all, and it can be a find, it can be just looking at a title, whatever you want. If you say, I want to find everything in ComicBase that was written by Chris Claremont, or I want to find everything I've got in box 23, whatever. So any of these lists that you're looking at in a grid view, you can always either come down here and either highlight one or more lines. You can hit Control A to highlight everything in there. You can hit only selected lines. I'm holding down the Control key to deselect ones I'm not particularly interested in. And then with everything I've got that I'm viewing right there, I can view that, come down here into say Quick Report, or right click and say F7. Now what that's going to do, and let me go ahead and pull it over to my window right now, is it generates sort of a basic report, with just the basic information about everything I've selected in that list. And again, this is a great way to just, if you want to just dial in and get a printout of just esoteric stuff in your database. Literally could be something like, show me everything I've got in box 23, print me a list, I'm going to stick it in the box. So you can just do the find, highlight everything, do the quick report, print it out, you're done. So a couple of questions came up on this one. So first of all, we do add now that automatically, along with the notes here, we are going to automatically, append in any of the grading notes. That gets done automatically. But what if you wanted to change which columns and things like that appear on it? Well, you can't change, the report itself. The quick report is really meant to be like a kind of a one-hit, one-and-done kind of deal. But you can do some other interesting things. So one thing is you can come up under here and you can always, if you've done a title-based report, so let's say I'd done a find for all the comics in the database that were, let's go look for title, let's go look for publisher right down here, and let's say the publisher is Valiant. All right. So here's a list of all the Valiant, comics in the database. Well, let's say I want to go under here. If I highlight all these guys right here, I can do highlight them all and then say report selected titles as I can get a collection overview, collection report, item checklist, price list, wanted list, etc. But it'll basically give me want list, price list, etc. just for those titles that were on there. And also, if I've selected different numbers on these ones, for instance, if I want to get a collection checklist just for these particular Valiant titles, that's a good way to do that right there. Say just report those ones right there, as checklists. So you can do that as a result of any title-based find. You can pour it into an existing report, or for any issue-based find. So anything that you're looking down the fields that are basically found right in the issue itself over here, you can do that, and you can either get the standard quick report, or you also can go up under here and just do a copy. Right-click, do and just do Control-C. And that will give you the contents of everything in there in a tabbed out format, which then if I open that up in something like Excel, I can just paste, and everything I'm looking at on screen will just appear as grids in the spreadsheet, at which point I can add columns, I can delete columns, I can reformat it, I can go nuts in the whole thing, all just with really just a copy and paste kind of operation. So that's kind of a neat thing to do. Play around with it and see if that doesn't solve some problems for some folks. All right. And let me see other questions that people had here. Andre had a question about the time of update fix and Sidekick. Reach out to me afterwards, because I honestly I thought we'd put that one to bed, but if we didn't, let me know. If that's still not working properly for you, but. If so, then I'll just need to get a reproducible situation, and we'll get that handled for you. Anyway, the last question that I wanted to handle on here, and that will be it, unless someone else has something else you want me to cover, is question came up of how do I get a PDF out of ComicBase? And you can do that pretty easily. The way I would do it is you can either, basically anything that gives you a preview. And you can do that either from, like, say, a quick report or any of the standard reports. Let's do it right now. Let's just go into the standard report menu here. I'm just going to do, say, a collection report. And if I wanted to get this as a, someone says, I've been asked, can I get a PDF sent out of my, collection? And the way you would do that is you'd come up here under collection report. Now, the one quick way to do it is if you actually just print to, if you've got a PDF printer, like this one, I've got an Adobe PDF. If I just print to that, it actually generates a PDF as part of the deal. But if you don't have a PDF printer, if you just have like a regular printer, like so, this guy right over here is an HP LaserJet. If I go up here and I say preview, and I'm just gonna preview one title right now because I don't want to have it spend all day making the report. So here's my collection report of Archer and Armstrong. If you look up here at the top, let me go ahead and magnify this up here. There are some really bad icons, if I can get them to scroll. Of course, it went onto the other screen. Anyway, right up here, there we go. This guy right here, which I don't know what the icon designer was thinking, but they apparently thought that meant export. So let's just roll with it. If I click on that, it will allow me to export it in a variety of fantastic formats. The first one is completely useless, a Crystal Reports.rpt file, but if I click down here and I go down, then suddenly you get some ones that are somewhat useful. Microsoft Word, okay. Excel, okay. The one you really want, though, is a PDF right here, the second one down there. And so if I call this one Archer and Armstrong, it'll save as .pdf. And then I can just take that file and email it to whoever I want, and then they've got that list. Anyway, so that's pretty much how you would do that one. Let's just do one more quick check of things here. Asia Camp says, how does it get to your DB at home? Asia Camp, all right, so when you add books on the mobile app, how does it get into your database at home? So the short version of that question, and let me just establish the context while we're at it here. So, wrong camera, that was the overhead. So if I'm using the ComicBase app on my phone, and I go ahead and I say add my comics to my inventory, when I hit save, what it does, it queues them up for addition into the the main database. The main database is always going to live at your computer at home. So, it lives, we don't know what you've got in your collection until you tell us. So, I mean, ComicBase I guess the main thing to keep it straight is ComicBase isn't an online list of your inventory. You can take your inventory and post it online, but the database lives on your machine. It only shares out to the world as much as you let us. When you save things on the mobile app, then what it's really doing is it's queuing them up in our server, saying, hey, next time you talk to your computer back at your house, then we'll basically queue up that there's some work for the machine to do. And where that happens is if you come up here under the Internet menu and say, check for new sales and purchases. Let me go ahead and make that so you actually see it. Check for new sales and purchases. Once I've done that, then anything I've scanned remotely, it'll say, oh yeah, you've added 3 dozen books using the mobile app, at which point it'll say, do you want to add them to your database now? At which point then it'll integrate them into your main collection. And you can have that also done automatically. Sidekick can automatically do the integrating for you as you go. But from that point then, it pulls them out of our cloud. It marks the transactions as having been processed. And then it integrates the main thing in your database, and we're good to go. All right, so let me see here. Anything else we ought to have covered before we gotta go? Some great stuff on here. All right, I think we are good then. All right, guys, I am off. We are just going to, I'm gonna head to the beach, be here for another day or two, but then I'm gone. And you guys have a great time while I'm gone. Don't blow up the world any more than it's already doing right now, because it's pretty rough out there. You guys take care, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.